Om Shanti. Let's explore the personality of purity in this bhatti today. Baba's been speaking a great deal about purity being royalty, purity being reality, the truth, and purity also being the personality. And so the personality of purity, or purity in my personality, however it is I look at it, I think about the dadis, because for most, we would say that there hasn't been that experience of meeting with Sakar Baba, but yet definitely the majority, especially amongst the teachers, definitely you would have been able to remember Dadi Prakashmani, Didi Manmohini, Dadi Janki, Dadi Gulzar, Dadi Chandramani, many of the dadis who demonstrated the personality of purity. What is it that we see in them? And these angels are still very much with us, helping us, supporting us, protecting us. And I think about their forehead. And each one had a forehead in which you could feel the light that emanated from the forehead. I'm not talking about visions. I'm not talking about just images, but in their presence, one could feel the vibrations that were radiating from above. And it was the vibrations of purity. And so purity shone through their being, their personality. And then if you looked into their eyes would also have nothing but purity and love in those eyes. And this is why we loved taking drishti from each and every one of the dadis. And then you look at their total face and you see this smiling countenance which would take away the sorrow of others and make them smile again also. So this was the image that we saw always. But what is it that they were doing that had allowed this to happen? So that we can also see those steps and make sure that our personality is one of purity. When we meet people, we describe them and we say, you know, this one had an amazing charisma, a wonderful personality, constantly just magnetic and charismatic. And so if I want to develop that personality of purity, nothing else, just purity, there's a lot of cleaning that I need to do. And I'm thinking about the state of consciousness. And within that, of course, first step that Baba always teaches us in every Murli, Sakar or Avyakt, the state of soul consciousness. Can I see myself here just as that radiant, shining, Satopradhan soul, sharing light with everyone around me, but also sharing light with the world out there? Can I do this? Yes, of course I can. Let me just simply follow Baba's instructions of the first lesson. Be soul conscious. Experience yourself as that inner being of light, absolutely infinitesimal. No space for anything else except the gifts given by God of love, of light, of purity, of truth, of honesty. And as I stabilize myself in this awareness of who I truly am, then in that awareness, the purity shines and radiates. And then let me look at my thoughts. Where are my thoughts going? What is happening in that world which is going on inside of me? And I see that if I wish to have purity in my personality, then what I need to do is to make sure that these thoughts are very clean, very pure, elevated. And that only happens when I churn. The source of all purity is Baba. And Baba's Murli, Baba's versions, are the power that I take from that, so that then as I churn those versions that Baba has spoken, those versions cleanse everything else away from my mind. When Baba reminds us again and again, children, churn Baba's knowledge. Experiment with it for yourself, and you'll see that as I churn Baba's knowledge, it's truly the pure water that's cleaning away all the other stagnant things that have been lying there. If I'm thinking about the world out there, if I'm thinking about this thing, that thing, and the other thing, and all the waste thoughts that we manage to accumulate inside ourselves, well, I'm carrying that burden. But also that burden is associated probably with stuff from the past. And it's filled with weeds and rubbish and I don't know what else. And so to clear all that out, if there's a pail of dirty water, put it under the tap that's running clean water, and all the dirty water will be displaced. There's no lifting a load or carrying a burden. No, just keep the dirty pail under the clean water tap and just keep pouring in the pure, clean water, and the displacement will happen in a very natural way. And you'll be left with a pail of pure, clean water that you can look through and not find a speck. Same thing. Every day, Baba's Murli is helping to cleanse the soul. That is the purpose of the Murli. Yes, it's the nourishment, it's the empowerment, but most of all, it's that power that cleanses everything. Whatever I was yesterday, today, I read the Murli, I listen to the Murli, I reflect on the Murli, and I become a different person. The way I saw things yesterday was different, and it was heavy and burdensome. But today, Baba's Murli has changed my perspective. And as I reflect on what Baba is telling me to do, I see a very different picture unfold in front of me. I see things differently. And so to have pure, clean, elevated thoughts based on truth, based on supreme knowledge, as I reflect on all those and churn all of this, there's no space. There's nothing there from the past. All the rubbish has been cleaned out. And so Baba's given me not only an instruction, but Baba's given me the method and the tools so that I use those tools, I use the right method, and I find my mind is free, it's light, it's easy, and there's nothing but good thoughts, pure thoughts, creating good feelings, pure feelings for everyone. Without the power of the Murli, where would we be? But of course, Baba knows this, and so the ocean of love, the ocean of purity, the ocean of knowledge is sharing all of this with us so that truly we can become clean and pure, pure thoughts, pure feelings. All my emotions of negativity have dissolved with the power of the Murli. And what I'm left with is nothing but good feelings and pure wishes for everyone, without exception. because even one exception creates a big, big stain. Before I started the process of cleaning, I didn't know how much rubbish I carried. But now as I go through that process, and if a little bit of stain remains, it's very visible. And so absolutely nothing but purity, pure love for all those I'm in touch with, and for even those I'm not in touch with. But to have a mind that's clean and clear so that now I can send out good wishes to the world. Mansa Seva then becomes a possibility. If my mind is still holding things from the past, how is it possible for me to send out pure thoughts in any direction? That taint, that stain is still there, and I can't manage Mansa Seva in the power and in the way that it should be done. Mansa Seva actually has both connotations: service of the mind and serving through the mind. And so first I must serve my mind and clean it. And then I look further and I see my conscience. Is my conscience transparent? Is my conscience clear? Is the needle in the center point so that it's not swerving either in the direction of attraction or in the direction of dislike? Beyond like and dislike, the conscience, the buddhi, is now absolutely stable and still, and it's filled with benevolence. Baba, the one who's the intellect of the wise, is the one who's always, always benevolent. And so as I think about things, as I reflect on something, and I come to a decision, is it based on benevolence? Good feelings for all, absolutely nothing but that. And when I'm able to do this, having gone through that process of cleansing, then yes, I'm close to the Father and the Mother. And when Baba says, become like the Father, Bap Saman, then purity is surely one of those foremost qualities that will allow me to come close to Baba and become like Baba also. So let the intellect be completely clean, no past beliefs. So often I look at somebody and I remember what they said 6 months ago, 6 years ago, many, many years ago. And of course, that's tainted. It's already colored my vision. But if I have made sure that my intellect is clean and clear, so that I see only specialities, I see only the goodness, then in that way, yes, the decisions that I make, the understanding that I have, the beliefs that I hold will be based on truth. The intellect is a double-edged sword. And Didi once told me this, and I've never forgotten it. Didi said, it's a blessing to have a sharp intellect, but it's not enough just to have a sharp intellect. The intellect also has to be divine. And she then explained, a sharp intellect can be one in which you criticize, you tell people what is right, what is wrong, when it's not even your business to be telling them. But mainly, the intellect is so sharp that it can find fault even in somebody who is 90% okay. But the intellect will seek out the 10% which is negative. But no, let me allow my intellect to be touched by God, so that then my intellect retains the clarity, but is also filled with divinity. the divine intellect will search for goodness, search for speciality. And if I seek goodness and speciality, then that is what will influence me. If my intellect is critical and is looking for fault, for sure, I'll find fault in something, everything, whatever. But it means that I've used this sharp knife that I have. Instead of cutting bondages, I'm cutting myself. You know how you have a sharp knife and you can cut a tomato without spilling any juice of the tomato. If the knife is blunt, it won't cut the tomato so well, and there'll be juice sprinkled everywhere. But if it's a sharp knife, one clean cut and nothing is spilled. In the same way, a sharp intellect which is divine is able to cut bondages without any pain, without any distress. But if the intellect isn't divine and is only sharp, then what's going to happen is that there's going to be just criticism and I'm cutting my finger instead of cutting the tomato. And in that condition, cutting myself means that I will have hurt myself. And the first thing that happens when criticism begins is that my happiness goes. It's something that's very noticeable. One moment, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm content. And the next moment, something changes it and I lose my happiness within a moment. What happened? I noticed somebody's faults and my intellect started criticizing internally. And of course, if I speak it out, that's even more of a burden because I've spread mud here and there. And then who's going to do the cleaning? So the burden of having spread dirt comes on either soul. And this is why then, not only is it my intellect that begins to feel sad and unhappy, but I'm now carrying the burden of what I've done to others. And so let the intellect be divine. Let there be nothing but benevolence. Let the intellect be sharp so that it can separate the wheat and the chaff and is able to see that which is good and special. There was a lovely statement from Baba the other day. If you want to be a special soul, all you have to do is see specialities. Don't see anything else, just see specialities. And so, yes, purity means my own specialities emerge, but also I see the beauty, the truth, the goodness of each and every other human being, and especially those I'm connected with within the Brahmin family. And then there's something else that I also have to clean out, and that is the chit. The chit is the memory track. Sanskars are the memories of past births, but chit is that stage between mind and intellect. The soul is a point of light, a dot. So it's not that you can take up a pencil and say, this is the mind, this is the intellect. No, not like that. But at different times, different aspects of the faculties of the soul manifest. And so at times it's my feelings and emotions, my thoughts. At different times it's my impressions, my beliefs, my conscience that's kicking in. And in between these two, my mind is okay, my thoughts are fine, my feelings are good, and my understanding is clear, and I'm very aware of that divinity that Baba has given as a gift. And so I'm totally conscious of that too. And then something triggers me. And instead of the stable mind or the intellect that's divine, something starts to function in a negative way. What happened? Nothing happened externally. Everything seemed to be okay. But something from the world out there triggered something from the past within the soul. And a memory emerged, which wasn't a very pleasant memory. Maybe it's the memory of childhood days when my teacher was very, very strict and I didn't like her and I didn't do well in the subject that she was teaching because she was so strict. I backed off and I couldn't have a good relationship with her. And now I'm hearing the word teacher in a very different context, in the context of spiritual studies. But the word teacher works like an alarm bell for me. Not for you, maybe not for you, not for you. But this is why it's so important to personalize Baba's teachings and to know what works for me and in what way. And in that awareness, then I'm going to make sure that I stay on track. And so in that state where the memory track has been triggered, then it's not just that scene or those images that come in front of me, but it's those feelings that are connected with that particular scene. And so at one point, the mind is fine, the intellect is fine. What happened when suddenly things become pear-shaped or go topsy-turvy? It's my chit, the memory track. And within the memory track is the recording and the photographs of all the things I have experienced through this life. The account of sanskars is a separate thing, but the memories of this birth and the things that are happening here and now. And so it's very easy for that to get triggered. But can I clean it out? Yes, of course, with Baba's help. And so let me see, instead of the memories of pain, what are the memories of love, of joy? The beautiful scenes in Madhuban with Baba, with the Dadis, the times that we celebrated together, all the things that have happened. And as I emerge those scenes in my consciousness, then those scenes begin to take root. And anytime I want again to experience a moment of joy, I just need to go back to those roots and that experience, and I'm back on track. And so let me be very careful about what I have in storage in terms of my memory and be able to deal with it. And then, yes, there are the sanskars. And sanskars change in two different ways. One, yoga, of course, but in particular, the fire of yoga. Not just yoga, a little bit of meditation here and a little bit of question there and a little bit of attention distracted by something else. No. That stage in which truly I'm connected with one, and it's that stage of the fire of love, the fire of remembrance, the fire that's able to cleanse me. And many of us haven't had that experience of absolute stability, sitting in God's remembrance, so that truly the fire can be generated and spread. And this fire, the spiritual energy fire, is not going to cause harm to anyone. I don't even need to use the language that I'm using, use whatever language it is that local people will understand. But that's the intention, that that fire of yoga is such that it burns away all my sins. And the proof of that, I feel lighter, I feel happier, I feel more in charge of my own life, more in command, rather than somebody else pushing a button. But no, the sanskars transformation depends on yoga, but also keep doing good karma, keep doing good karma. Karma that's going to be benefit for all, benefit for others, And of course, it's going to be of benefit to me too. But as I engage in good karma, I'm building up that stock of purity, of punya karma, a stock that's there for you to draw upon anytime you choose. When you see that things are a little bit different to what they should be, stop and go back to the awareness of the inner being and what we can do to help this particular situation right here, but also the situation of the world. Let's start here and clean out whatever it is that needs to be cleaned. Om Shanti.